From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is the Midday Report on LALATE.
It's a big noon time here on LALATE with incredible great details about your fourth stimulus check updated 2021. In this recording, we'll go over that monthly stimulus check and why you're likely to get more months of checks. Then we got to the $3.5 trillion recon deal. There's a big deal. It's been done. Agreement on the price tag. $3.5 trillion of checks are coming to the American people. I'll be explaining who's getting checks. You're all getting checks. And of what magnitude? It's all really exciting, great news. Then we cut to the vote. There's a vote tomorrow. It's supposed to be today. Chuck Schumer moved it to tomorrow. I'll explain what that vote is, how it works, who's it for, and what you need to know across the board. And then we cut to fifth stimulus as it raises your benefits up, SSI to VA, yes. Your promises to the campaign trail, and it's happening in the fall. I'll explain the implications of it. And is the 10-year Treasury note falling? Will that impact it as well? I'll explain all the details. And then we cut to the big money across the board that viewers continue to get. $5, $10, $15, $20,000. Money right now, not 5 weeks from now, and not 5 days from now. It's a big noontime. It's a big exciting day. I'm excited for you. The surf's up. We're ready to rock and roll. Let's get to the details direct this afternoon, live from Santa Monica on at noontime. Hey, good noontime, everybody. How are you doing? Hope your week is going wonderful. The weather finally cooled down here in Southern California. It is beautiful here today in Santa Monica, live with you. But by the weekend, it's supposed to be horrible. Jump in the live chat. Tell me where you're tuned in from and how's the weather. Well, here we go. Fourth stimulus check updated 2021. Breaking news across the board. A lot of breaking news. First, monthly stimulus checks, why you're likely to get more months of checks. Then, the exciting details of that recon. There's $3.5 trillion of checks coming out to the American people in this recon. I'll explain the details and who's going to get checks. It's you and what they're for. It's exciting, great news. And then we go to the vote. There was supposed to be a vote today. It's been moved to tomorrow. I'll explain what that vote is for and how important is it? Or not important. And then we cut to fifth stimulus, which raises your benefits up lifetime, especially if you're on SSI and VA. But is the falling of the 10-year Treasury note yesterday and today impacting that? I'll explain the details. And then we cut to the big money across the board. Viewers like Nisi, who got $23,000, John getting $12,000, $10,000 for SNAP. I'll explain all the money across the board that you can get as well. And this is LA, America's only 24-hour day, 7 days a week, financial news channel in America. Live in the morning like right now and taped in the afternoons. Coming up next today is Afternoons LA, new show at 3 o'clock, then Evenings LA, new show at 5 o'clock, then Overnight's Crypto, and Sirloin is back, so subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record in 1 year. Next stop, 1 million. I want you to hit that subscribe button and be part of this family. Like the video, 3,000 likes. Let's like it and consider becoming a member. Let's cut to the exciting deliciousness of fourth stimulus starting right now. Monthly stimulus checks, that's what the Democrats want you to have. And while the House bill is pandemic plus 1 year, it now is clear that we're not out of the pandemic. House bill, pandemic plus 1 year, Senate proposal, July to December. Let's look at the payouts. House bill, $2,000 first month, $1,000 thereafter. Senate amount unknown. But word on the street, the Senate would pay you this deliciousness. $2,000 over 6 months, $12,000, or $1,400 over 6 months, $8,400. 3 weeks ago, we thought, well, the pandemic may be not considered over. 2 weeks ago, we said the pandemic isn't over. That was as LA reverted its mask mandate. And Warren Buffett said the pandemic's not over. Then last week, we said the pandemic's definitely not over. And guess what today is? Well, the pandemic is ravaging out of control. COVID cases up dramatically in 50 states. The situation is changing very, very dramatically because of Delta. That would suggest that the House bill would actually pay out all those months. Pandemic plus 1 year from House would be more than 12 checks, which would be more from the House than $13,000. Well, compare that to this monthly and the Senate. I think you have an opinion. Jump in the live chat right now. Vote House of Senate. House of Senate. Tell me where you're tuning in from and how's the weather. Well, there you go. Vote House or Senate right now. Who gets that fourth stimulus check? Democrats represent that you get it if you got the third. Single individual, 75,000 or less, you get the fourth stimulus check. Married couple, 150,000 or less, Democrats represent you get the fourth stimulus check, double it. Family of four, Democrats represent you get the fourth stimulus check, quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, VA benefits, congratulations. Democrats want you to have a fourth stimulus check. The fourth stimulus check is not income. It's not taxable. The fourth stimulus check would be the same amount for everyone. Yes, congratulations. And the fourth stimulus check would not come in waves. It's a monthly stimulus check. If you saw me broadcasting live from the surf, literally at the surf, on Sunday, you saw at the beach, one viewer jumped in live chat, said, "Hey, LA, is that the check behind you? Wave at the check. See if it waves back." So I did. No joke. This is actually the exchange. So I said on the camera, "Let me wave at the check. Hey, check, how you doing?" The check didn't wave back. I said to the viewer, "See, it's a rude check." The viewer said, "LA, it's not a rude check. It's just not a waveable check." Yeah, I love when the viewers got my lines. So there you go. The Democrats can still get that check to you in the month of July for the month of July, and in the month of August for the month of August. But in the second part of this video, we'll go over that recon deal. $3.5 trillion of checks are coming to you. The Democrats have confirmed a deal on the recon and a deal on the price tag. There will be $3.5 trillion of checks coming to the American people. I'll be going over some of those checks with you in this wonderful recording. Then later we'll go over the vote. It was supposed to be today, but now it's tomorrow. I don't know what happened with that one. But what is that vote for? I'll explain all the details. And then here's a preview of the second half of this video. This stimulus is raising your benefits up. Yes, those was promised for you during the campaign trail, and it's now happening in the fall. But is the fall of the 10-year Treasury note today, as interest rates plummet, impacting that? Wall Street tanked yesterday. It's up dramatically today, and yet the bond market's falling apart. So what does that mean for inflation? I'll explain all the details direct from Wall Street later in this video. But first, let's get some money. And I'm so proud of you. You have been killing it. If you've got a rent from this channel, post in the live chat right now, or utilities, or Snap, post it right now. Boy, when I started recording this a few weeks ago, I said for rent, I can get you $5,000. Viewers are, because of these videos, getting $20,000 for rent, like Nisi, $12,000 daily. One viewer on Mornings LA today for Snap revealed he's getting $18,000 for Snap. That was on Mornings LA. If you missed the live show this morning, wow. I think his name was Glenn. I think it was Glenn. I was just shocked. I had to look at it 3 times. For utilities, I said I can get you $300 to $3,000. $300 for utilities. Viewers are getting $3,000. When I talk about Snap, viewers initially were getting $5,000 to $6,000. John got $10,000 to $12,000. But yes, that viewer on Mornings LA today. Oh my goodness, my eyes are just out of my popping out. $18,000 for his family. I am so excited. He got $18,000 because of my videos. Boy, and that's just for one item. I hope he jumps into the live chat right now. I want you to get rent. I want you to get rent and utilities as well. Maybe you can get up to $25,000, $30,000 from this channel. That would be a real record. That would be the highest I think we've ever seen for this channel. So let's get a pen and paper ready, because if you have not gotten any money, I want to get you money right now. This is what we do on this channel. I get people money, fortunes, because you are incredible. You deserve it. Under second stimulus, there was supposed to be an EIDL grant and loan, and I started this channel because people were not getting it. There was no check to track because the check wasn't going out, but I got viewers $25 million of EIDL loans, checks to cash. Then in fall of 2020, second stimulus was not going out. There was no check to track, but I got viewers $250,000 of rent, and they cashed it. Viewers like Tyrone, a family out of 4 out of Boston, got $15,000 in December, paid all his bills the next year. But post your rent, your utilities, your Snap right now. Let's go over the big money. Get a pen and paper ready. I'm going to go over the big money I can get you starting right now. We're going to reach out to different places. Each place has different eligibility. If one says no, reach out to the next. Please apply. Don't think that maybe you don't qualify for one, then you're not going to apply for the others, because they all have different eligibility. Are you ready? You're going to reach out to your city hall, your city housing authority, your county hall, your county housing authority, your state hall, your state housing authority. Viewers say my keywords are really critical to them getting approved and knowing where to find it. Keywords are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. You don't say words they don't know, like stimulus or Mitch's wonderful performance on Star Search. They don't know that. They don't want to know that. They don't even think it was wonderful. They think it was sort of mediocre. They say Nance's was better. So there you go. The next pot of the money is Snap. If you got rent, post it right now. So Snap, John got $10,000 to $12,000 for Snap, but I think we now have a new record, $18,000 from that viewer this morning. If his name was Glenn, please remind me because I can't remember. I think it was Glenn. Oh my goodness. How much? What is Snap? Snap is money for food. How do you get Snap? You get it from Department of Agriculture. And who has gotten also from this channel? Lynn Glenn got it for herself, her son, and her mom. Gail got as well. Congratulations. So how much does it pay? For a family four out of Hawaii, it gets paid upwards of $16,000. Wow. Why so much money for Snap? Because I have two wonderful executive orders, one from Biden, one from Trump, that raise your benefits up 15% between now and December. So go get it. And you're killing it. $15,000, $16,000, $18,000 for Snap. $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 for you for rent. You're killing it. And we're only 11 minutes in this video. We have another pile of money, and starting right now, it is the wonderful money coming back from your state for overpayment due to computer error. Here we go. One viewer got $3,000 for it. Another got $5,000. Where's the landing direct deposit? Can you track it? Yeah, call up your state and say, hey, state, where's that check due to overpayment of unemployment benefits due to computer error? And can you track it this time with a computer that actually works? There's a reason why posting your success stories on the channel is important. One, it inspires other people to get the money. So someone may be sitting back and say, oh, I never thought of Snap. Oh, now I see those numbers. Maybe I'll go apply. Second, it inspires you to get multiple items, like Art Sullivan. He's gotten 3 items. So when you see Art get 3 items and you really only got 1, then you realize, oh, maybe I should get the other 2. And then it updates us about the numbers. You saw the reaction on Mornings LA when we're talking about John at $12,000 a Snap. Now we see this other viewer, who I think his name was Glenn, getting $18,000. Boy, things are moving very quickly. So post your success story. The next pot of the money is the refund check due to unemployment benefits from IRS. Margaret got it, Tim got it, Cod got it. Congratulations, but IRS has an update for us. If you haven't gotten it, it's coming. The latest wave of the refunds has an average payment of $1,265. Wow. This latest wave of direct deposit started on July 14th and mail checks start on July 16th. There'll be a new wave every week. So if you're at the beach and you see the IRS, no, we're not going to do that. So there you go. How much are you getting? How much you're getting? Let's go over the details. Let's say you had $9,000 of total unemployment benefits. You paid $5,000 of taxes, of which $4,000 was your taxes on unemployment benefits. Congratulations, you're getting back $4,000. Where? Direct deposit, otherwise in the mail. Can you track it? Yeah, go to irs.gov. It'll show stuff you never knew before 70% of the time. It'll reveal the tax return you filed, the taxes you paid. It'll reveal stuff you never wanted to see. It'll show stuff that you don't want anyone else to see. It'll reveal... Really, what was Mitch's song when he performed on Mitch on Star Search? It revealed, does Mitch sing alto soprano or stimulus soprano? And then it'll reveal the tax refund check you're getting. And can we top that? We can, as we go in the second part of your fourth stimulus check updated 2021, and it's starting right now. And we have incredible, great news with a deal. Deal. The price tag and the deal on the recon. The Senate Democrats have made a deal. The price tag on the recon will be a whopping $3.5 trillion. Done. And they've agreed they're passing it, the recon. Done. How do we get to this wonderful spot? We got to this wonderful spot by taking roads and bridges out of the recon. Recon originally had roads and bridges out of it, and they shrunk it by taking roads and bridges out, putting those roads and bridges into the bipartisan, making the recon smaller. Eventually, the progressives raised it up a little bit more to get it to $3.5 trillion and a deal. This confirmation came in an op-ed from a conservative publication that said the higher the price tag was on the recon before the shrinkage, the harder it was to pass. There you go, confirmation. But by allowing the Democrats to take out some of the spending of the recon, putting into the bipartisan roads and bridges, it made the price tag of the recon smaller, obviously. In other words, the bipartisan deal made the recon passable. Sorry, Mitch, sorry to set you up. But Rich doesn't really care at this point that he's been set up because the Republicans love the bipartisan. They adore it. Later in this video, I'm going to show you that they're getting to the finish line. They adore it. And Mitch likes it as well. Now, how do we get to this wonderful spot? Well, we got to this wonderful spot with this deal. And with this deal, this enormous price tag of $3.5 trillion for the recon, the progressives got what they wanted. Bernie got what they wanted. They all got what they wanted. Before that agreement, they said they wanted it big and bold. Representative Richie Torres said that we need to have a larger recon. You got it, Richie. Congratulations. Representative Elon Omar said that they will give us a recon that goes as far as we want it. You got it, Elon. There you go. And then the Progressive Caucus have been meeting with the White House daily to ensure the recon was big enough and bold enough. They got that as well. How are they able to do this? By protecting the recon. The White House have been protecting the recon since day one, as Senator Brian Schwartz had been saying that the White House considers the progressive priorities in there its own priorities, and Jalapal confirmed the same as well. What is a recon, and what is the other names for it, and how does it get written? When do we see it, and what's in there? Let's go over all the details. First, let's go over the names for these items. It's very important because I use certain words, but broadcast media sometimes uses other words. Recon is your money. Bipartisan roads and bridges. So you got those two words. But what are the other words that the print media and also the president sometimes use? For recon, they also call it reconciliation. They also call it the budget bill. For bipartisan, they call it the infrastructure and roads and bridges. How do you recognize the two if you don't see the name? Well, recon, you can recognize it by the price, $3.5 trillion. Bipartisan, you recognize it by the smaller price, $1.5 trillion approximately. Recon, you recognize it by the supporters, Bernie Sanders, people like that. And then bipartisan, you recognize it by the people who talk about it in the article, like a Mitt Romney or a Lisa Murkowski or Kristen Sinema. All right, so what is a recon? How do they vote on it? How do they write it? When do we see it? All those details. First, what is a recon? A recon is a reconciliation bill. It's both a procedural bill and a substantive bill, but I'm going over the substantive one. It's written by the Democrats for the Democrats to be passed by the Democrats. The reconciliation bill is actually written up in the subcommittees of the House. Under the Constitution, those subcommittees are delegated different subject matters, and those different subject matters are separated House subcommittee versus other House subcommittees. The Senate subcommittees are part of the discussion as well. For example, the House Ways and Means Subcommittee under the Constitution is responsible for stimulus checks. They're responsible for unemployment benefits. When each subcommittee is done, then they have a certain number of pages they've written. Let's say it's 10 pages and 10 subcommittees. Bam, combine 10 of 10, that's 100 pages, send it up to Chuck. He puts an S on it, and you see the recon, Senate bill. Now, one of the things broadcast media, mainstream media, and myself agree upon is that we have not seen the recon, and we won't see the recon until it's ready to vote on. It's as much like a pop singer who has an album, doesn't want you to see the songs until she releases the album. It's her prerogative. She doesn't want you to see it. It's part of the whole push to get it released. Now, the fact that it has not been released to the American people is all that there is. But along the way, there'll be someone that's very uninformed or a naysayer that'll jump in the comments and say, I haven't heard in the recon that. Well, the reason why you haven't heard is you haven't seen it. We haven't seen it either. And there you go. How do we get to this wonderful spot? By Jalapal. Jalapal had written Schumer a letter. And that letter said, Chuck, call the vote. That letter was signed by 12 House Democrats, part of 100 plus House Democrats. Yes, 100. Who had written to the president saying, we're going to do monthly stimulus checks. Oh my goodness, in the fourth stimulus package. Can we top that? We can. As 7 members of that House Ways and Means subcommittee, the one you were just talking about, yep, that one, wrote the president a letter saying, we're putting monthly 4 stimulus checks in the fourth stimulus package. OMG. Now that's wonderful. We have to keep them to their promise. That's what they say they're doing. We got to keep them to their promise. They also wrote your 3rd stimulus recon, and they represent they're doing a 5th as well. Wow. That's coming up later in this video. Can we top that? We can. As the president has gotten his international agreement done. 4 weeks ago, you saw the president go overseas to have a ceremonial signature, but the official signature was just days ago. It's the International Corporate Tax Rate Minimum Number. If that sounds confusing, it is. And that's why it's great news. It's not in for stimulus. That confusing thing is somewhere else, and it's done. Why is this great news? Number one, it makes it easier to write for stimulus because that confusing thing is not in there. It makes it easier to call the vote on for stimulus because that confusing thing is not in there. It makes it easier to vote on for stimulus because that confusing thing is not in there. And it makes it easier to pass for stimulus because that confusing thing is not in there. Wow, can we top that? We can. In the final 15, minutes of this video, we'll go over the final 14 days, potentially, of the fourth stimulus battle. Those final 14 days are potentially underway, and you're going to see the items that are in the fourth stimulus. Wow, lots of checks for the American people, $3.5 trillion of checks. You're going to see the vote, the dates, the bill provisions, and how they get those done, what Chuck is doing yesterday, what Chuck did today, everything you need to know across the board. We then turn to the exciting details of fifth stimulus, which raise your benefits up if you're on beneficiaries and more. And then finally, a personal message from me. All those exciting details, but something more exciting even than that is the volunteers. If you've had problems finding that rent, utilities, internet, SNAP, and you see those people posting in the live chat and you're like, I'm having problems finding it, don't worry, reach out to the volunteers. Open the description, go down the description, you'll see an emoji of a house. Click that house, it'll send you over the community page, news.la.com/community. On that page, there's a series of volunteers separated from Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Reach out to them and they'll help you get that big money. And I'll be back with you in 60 seconds with that final 15 of the final 14 in that fourth stimulus discussion. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now on noontime LALATE, live from Santa Monica with the final 15 of your final 14 potential days of the fourth stimulus battle. It's getting very exciting, and it's very important for you to be informed across the board because the items are changing very quickly, and they could be confusing to some people, but not for us. So subscribe. At 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this family. Hit that subscribe button. Programming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Thank you for watching. Mornings Crypto with massive numbers is our most watched Mornings Crypto show this day today ever. So I really appreciate that. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. The link's at the top of the chat and pinned comment. Coming up this afternoon is Afternoons LALATE, new at 3. Evenings LALATE at 5, new. Then Overnight's Crypto, and the Sirloin is back. And also, here we go. Fifth stimulus is coming out this fall, and that fifth stimulus is what the president had promised you on the campaign trail. That fifth stimulus is that SSI reform that he promised you. He's not getting it done, so congressional leaders say they're doing it for you. It will raise your benefit limits up, remove the asset limits, add inflationary benchmark, remove the income exclusion, and remove the marriage penalty. I saw the nicest comment, by the way, on overnight, I think early mornings LA. A viewer said, this senior from this state loves watching you. I really appreciate you. I appreciate the comment because that's what I do. I try to get everyone all the information they need. First, who gets this? You do. If you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, SSA, or multiple beneficiaries. What happens? First, they raise your benefits up one time, and this is in the fall. This would likely go to drafting in September to October, vote around November, then becomes law around November. Then they would apply the benchmark. The benchmark would be applied in December, right after it becomes law. The new benchmark is inflation. The inflation benchmark would determine how high your benefits will go next year. And how high is inflation going? Well, Jay Powell, your head of the Federal Reserve, testified on Capitol Hill last week. The same thing he said the month before. Good, yes. He said that inflation is going up to its highest point around December. That's exactly when they apply the benchmark. Yeah, it is. He said that inflation will be transitory, which is a fancy word for temporary, before it goes back down to a lower number. Well, how high is that inflation rate going to be? Wall Street all last week and this week is saying my number about 5%. Wow, great news. But LALATE, that 10-year Treasury note, the bond yields have been falling dramatically in the last 2 days. Wall Street crashed yesterday. Wall Street's up today, but the interest rates are plummeting. Does that mean our inflation rate is going to go down and that our benefits would go down? No. So what does the 10-year Treasury note talk about, or what is it regarding? That is regarding interest rates, which is tied to growth of the U.S. economy. Growth is different than how much it costs to buy some lettuce at the supermarket. Growth refers to how strong the economy is. And so as Delta starts to grow up and get very big, there was a new report just minutes ago that said Delta is up 800% in LA. Boy, as Delta goes up, then growth will slow and the 10-year Treasury note will slow down. But that does not mean that the cost of lettuce, milk, or gas will go lower. They are tied to inflation. And so, yeah, no change across the board. So I still do think it's going to be 5% by December. So let's go over the analysis. First, they'll raise your benefits up a lifetime. Then they'll apply the benchmark. If the benchmark is 5%, then your benefits will be raised up 5%. Not just next year, lifetime. Because once your benefits step up, they never step down. Wow, wonderful news. If the inflation rate is 2% after that, the year after that, then you'll be plus 5 to plus 2%. Oh my goodness. Next, they're going to remove the asset cap dating back to a 1980s law that says you can't have more than $3,000 in hand. It's going to go away in just time to get some stimulus checks and a Taco Tuesday in your hand. They're going to remove the income cap dating back to a 1960s law that says you can't work or stay on benefits. And finally, the marriage penalty is going to go away. Love is going to win, and you'll be able to marry your longtime love interest, no longer fear loss of benefits, and no longer be penalized from the marriage penalty. And there you go. That's fifth stimulus. Yes, those legislators represent they're going to give you a fifth stimulus check as well. That would be next year, would not overlap with this one. And then finally, if you're in the live chat and you're noticing people who are having purple hawk emojis next to their name, you're like, how do I get that one? And how are they getting all these big sums of money? They're Purple Hawks. As a Purple Hawk, they understood what I've been reporting since last year. And they're getting daily deliveries to them from me on the YouTube community page, a breakdown of all the big monies for them to get. When second stimulus is passed, there's a $600 stimulus check. What did I say? I said, I'll get you $6,000. Well, I got viewers $15,000. When third stimulus passed, there was a $1,400 stimulus check. I said, well, I'm going to get you $14,000. You saw in this video alone, Nisi, $23,000, Glenn, $18,000 for Snap. Massive sums of money. We're going to do the same thing on fifth stimulus. So consider becoming a member. The link's under the video and also at the top of the chat where it says join. All right, here we go. Time for the final 15 of your final potential 14 days of the fourth stimulus check battle starting right now. I called 14 days because by all accounts it may get done in the next 14 days. And not a representational warranty that it'll get done in 14 days, but it looks like it will. Let's go over first the recon, then the bipartisan, and then back to the recon, and then finish with some personal notes. First, the recon. Deal. Big, great news. We're going to first deal with the deal. Number one, a deal has been reached that the Democrats will pass the recon in the Senate. Oh my goodness, this is wonderful. And they've agreed upon the price tag, $3.5 trillion. All they have left to do is vote on the actual bill. Why is this big? Two reasons. It's great news for two reasons. Number one, that the first thing you do when you do a recon is agree upon the price. And the fact they have agreement is huge because all they have left is to put the items into the slots, as Senator Danny Kean confirms. And this is a major final step before they get the final vote. Number two, it's a big deal because of the price. Bernie Sanders went into the meeting and asked for $7 trillion. He came out ecstatic with $3.5 trillion. Why is he ecstatic? Because he basically said, I'm going to cut what I'm able to get the exact same programs paid for, just less number of years. Obviously, it's half the number, 3.5 is half the number 7. So it looks like he got for half the number of years that he was asking for. He called it a historic day in the U.S. For the U.S. Americans. It's just incredible. Why are progressives, moderate Democrats, everyone's so excited about $3.5 trillion? Because there's just checks, and more checks for you in this recon. The recon is just all checks. I mean, just all tons and tons of checks for different people for all different walks of life, in addition to the stimulus check that they represent, or checks that they represent they're putting in there. So there's all these other checks on top of them. What are those other checks? Well, as you heard earlier in this video, they do not reveal that till we see it in the final recon bill. But in a strange article released about a few days ago, some of the provisions were leaked. And here are potentially some of the provisions in that recon. Checks for free school meals for all. Wow. Checks for tax breaks. Checks for cheaper prescription medication. Checks for immigration reform. Checks for farmers. Checks for elections. Checks for free internet. They're going to be sending fortunes of money to local cities so that they can run their own internet companies and offer free internet. And then here comes the deliciousness. Checks for clean energy, and here comes money for seniors and money for workers. Checks for workers, checks for independent contractors, checks for unions, checks for collective bargaining agreement, and then checks for seniors, checks for Medicare expansion, checks for eligibility, checks for dental, checks for vision, and checks for hearing. Wow, now that's wonderful news. Checks, and $3.5 trillion of those checks. Let's turn over to the infrastructure. So the infrastructure, roads and bridges, bipartisan. Great news, as the Republican and Democrats last Thursday said, they're basically almost done with the deal provisions. And they say once those deal provisions are done, then writing up the bill takes very little time. Mitt Romney is the lead person in here, and he is really a quick guy. He moves very fast. If you were with me with second stimulus, he says that they're so close that they think the vote will be on the bipartisan bill this week. This week? Is that possible? Do I think it's going to happen? No. I think it's going to happen next week. Mainstream media and myself both think it's going to happen next week. The vote on the infrastructure, the roads and bridges, the bipartisan deal. But this is great news for us, for the recon. Why? Because the recon goes for a vote before the bipartisan. OMG. So the recon could potentially go for a vote this week or next week. Wow, it's getting really tight. How many steps of voting do they have to do? 12 steps, doesn't take 12 days. We have 3 bills, it takes 4 rounds of 3 bills. So we have the House, we have the recon procedural, the recon substantive, and the bipartisan. Step 1, Senate subcommittee, then Senate floor, then House, then President. That's 4 steps times 3. Very easy breezy. All right, so what are they doing tomorrow? I initially said it's today. Chuck initially said it was today. This afternoon's LALATE, I call it today, because apparently since then, Chuck has now said it's tomorrow. I don't know. He's just changing it. Chuck will call a vote tomorrow on something. That something is easy for me to explain, but I'm going to go really slowly so you hear it clearly. On Wednesday, Chuck Schumer will call a vote to end discussion and negotiations on the bipartisan roads and bridges shortly thereafter, in a day or two thereafter. Pretty easy. It's to end discussion and negotiations on the bipartisan, the roads and bridges. Not that day, but within a few days. Pretty easy. It's not a vote on the bipartisan bill. Now, will it pass? Absolutely not. Will it pass? No, it won't pass, because it needs bipartisan support. He doesn't have bipartisan support. So why is he doing it? He's putting fire under their feet to get that stuff done. He's trying to get them done, get the stuff done, and it's working. They worked over the weekend, the bipartisan group, and it's very important to really sort of follow Mitt Romney's comments in the lead to understand how far along they are. It was funny because I opened a conservative publication today, and you would assume the conservative publication would say things are not going well. I mean, that's sort of, you expect that to say. And so what did it do? It ran a quote from one guy who said, well, Republicans are waiting for the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office report, to come out to see how much the infrastructure costs, and then we'll make a decision. You know why I laughed? It's because Mitt Romney was asked that exact question on Friday or Saturday, the CBO report. And Mitt Romney says, the Republicans are not worried about the CBO report, so stop asking me that. Yeah, it's very fun. I loved it. Remember, Mitt Romney's a Republican. He said, we're not holding it up for the CBO report. So he's a money guy, former head of Bain Capital, and is also a Republican. So he has this laser focus. So this is great news, because the recon could potentially go to a vote today, this week, or next week. All right, next. Here's what's important for you to know is that certainly throughout today, a lot tomorrow, I 150% anticipate that there'll be someone that'll float through the comments who does not want to take the time or effort to be informed about what's going on. And this is what I expect that uninformed person who always sort of jumps in and thinks they know more than everyone else, absolutely knows less than all of us. This is what I expect that uninformed person to say. I heard Chuck called the vote on the infrastructure bill and it failed. No, he didn't call a vote on the bill. He called a vote to end discussion on the infrastructure. They haven't written the bill. It's not finally written. They haven't called it for a vote. Oh. And then there's someone who's going to get the wrong items to get them confused. I heard Chuck call a vote on the recon bill. No, he didn't call the vote on the recon. He didn't call a vote on a bill either. Oh, I heard Chuck call the vote on something and it didn't have a stimulus check in there. So you're not getting anything. No, he did not call a vote on a stimulus check. And then they'll just sort of do the simplest lack of information thing. I heard he called the vote on something. I don't know what it was. It didn't work. You're not getting anything. No, you don't know what you're talking about. Can you just go in the corner? So there you go. Next, it's important to note that the final days of doing bill voting is really where it gets very, very tight. It gets very, very tight and things just speed up. Let me show you how things speed up. In April of last year, Nancy Pelosi debuted the HEROES Act, a $3.5 trillion behemoth that would be second stimulus. It didn't go anywhere. And for months and months and months, we were waiting, didn't go anywhere. Finally, in December of last year, I said, hey, we need this continuing resolution budget bill done that funds the federal government. How about you put a stimulus check in there? And they looked at me like, are you crazy? This is for the federal government. It's not about the American people. It's just running the government. I said, I don't care. We need a check. We haven't gotten that check done. Put it in there. And you pushed. We called it CR for stimulus. It trended nationally, and then they saw it. The congressional leaders saw it, said, yeah, we're going to put some stimulus in there. We celebrated, and then we saw what the stimulus they were putting in there. Unemployment stimulus. We're like, no, you're supposed to put a stimulus check in there. What are you doing? And so for a few days, it took us more time to push. And finally, we woke up one morning, and the stimulus check was in there. But then, in just 2 days, the check would sometimes go up in price, lower in price, out in eligibility, lower in eligibility. Finally, it settled in and it was in a perfect position. And then I fully remember the day and place and where I was when this happened. Senator Toomey, who I never really followed much ever in my life, came out of nowhere and said, I'm going to blow up the whole CR for stimulus. And no one's going to get any money because there's a horrible provision in here I'm going to hold out for. What? Of course, Mitt Romney saved the day and came in and settled down Toomey, and it was done, and everyone got a check. It's important to understand that in these final days, things get modified. This legislation will likely start in the Senate, go to the House. It may go back to the Senate for a 2-day vote-a-rama. I think it has to. I'm not quite sure how that works, but I think it has to go back to the Senate again. You may see the legislation go to that vote first in the Senate, the recon. And you may like it, you may dislike it. We may be confused, we may not be confused. Ultimately, they can modify stuff. Today, Nancy Pelosi actually spoke about it. She said, she spoke about it, and also a few House members spoke about it. One House member had a funny comment. He said, we are not a cheap date. That was actually what a House member Democrat said today. So he says, basically, you don't just sort of shove bills down our throat and tell us to vote on them. No, that's what Nancy does. It sounds like what an AOC would used to say, because AOC used to always say that all the time. So the House Democrats are getting a little bit restless and saying, you have to allow us to make changes if we want to make changes. I love that, because we may see something. We may not like something. We may modify it. Purple Power Push is about pushing. It's about pushing. It is not about being a donut guy. A donut guy is always asking when. Purple Power pushes. We tell them when. Get the bill written, infrastructure people. You're taking too much time. Put in a bigger stimulus check. Change this, change that. That's what the Purple Power push is. It's pushing. Finally, a personal message. It's important to understand that throughout the land, things get extenuated all the time. And there's always someone that wants to live in a universe of making people unhappy. On Mornings LA today, early Mornings LA today, someone jumped to the live comments and started trashing viewers. Now, a couple of viewers send me private messages. What every viewer should have done at that point is report the viewer. The viewer, this person was jumping in the comments, not a member, of course, and trashing everyone. If you go to the end of the person's line, where they do something like that, the end of their typed words, there's a button, you click it, and there's a line called report. If you see someone attacking you in the comments, you report them. And under report, there's a line called harassment and bullying. That person was literally attacking everyone in the comments. On Mornings and Late, when I mentioned this on air, guess what happened? There was another person attacking other viewers. Oh boy, at that point, everyone should have reported that person as well. This is not the time and place. I wanted you to understand the importance of this. If a person is in the comments attacking viewers, that person should not just be banned from the channel, but banned from the platform. When you report a person attacking people, then that prevents the person from not only being on this channel and bothering you, but also bothering people on other channels. It's important in this time and place that people act appropriately and kindly. Certainly, I signed on to Twitter this morning, and the first comment I saw was someone tagging me saying, "Get back to work, you lazy people." This is not the time or place for that. That's different than someone saying, you know what, I'm losing, I'm worried about the July date for the check. That's one level comment. But if someone jumps in the comments and literally goes after viewers, everyone in the comment, that person has to be reported. And if you saw what happened a few weeks ago when someone did that and you all did that and reported him, that person was gone in less than 3 seconds. And it works. And so with that, I look forward to seeing you next on Afternoons LA. It's at 3 o'clock, followed by Evenings LA at 5 p.m. We're going to see a lot of details across the board. We thought that vote would be on that end to discussion of the bipartisan today, but apparently it's going to be tomorrow. There will also be a discussion tomorrow about the recon. Not a vote on the recon, just a discussion about it. It's important to understand for you to push Purple Power, hashtag MSC, hashtag Purple Power. Call up your Democratic senators. If you don't have any Democratic senators, they're all Republicans. Call up another state. Express them why you need stimulus checks. Push. Ultimately, down to the last leg, every Democrat is fighting to take every slice of that pie of that 3.5 trillion. They want to use as much of the money for them and their particular projects. Our projects are ourselves. You need to push. And as a family together, we'll get through it together. Stay informed, stay focused. Have a beautiful morning. Hit that subscribe button. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. I'll see you next on Afternoons LA at 3 o'clock.